Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chief Delegate meeting number 18. We have a very light schedule today. Next week is going to be jam-packed with all sorts of exciting stuff to discuss, but this week there's a few things we can touch on, though, so we'll get to those in a bit. Chris, you want to start us off with any updates?
The biggest event that's sort of going on is finishing up this new DAO proxy thing that's going to be announced next week on Tuesday. And it's using the Eden process as part of its membership. And so there'll be fractal elections or political playoff elections to select a committee that are like and they'll have a particular purpose in the committee. And there's a light paper that's coming out with that. And so we'll be interviewing one of the main guys behind it. And I look forward to, maybe we can talk more about it today after we go through the updates, and of course, next week.
Aaron, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Nearing the finish line with this never-ending treadmill of papers. There's some cool quality onboarding stuff that has come out of this research that I'm going to be excited to share. I know it's outside of a lot of what I've talked about with the onboarding stuff to help Eden and other EOS apps, but it's been nice to put a really heavy spotlight on this problem and just really start thinking about what needs to be resolved to make it so that, if you're talking to someone about something that involves EOS and they want to get started, that there's a clear path forward for that person. That's not, here's a flaming hoop that you have to jump through. We were just talking about it, how next week we'll have a lot more to talk about. I don't know if I'll have read a lot of it yet, but hopefully by this time next week, I can kind of say, hey, I finished, my part's done, and I'm back on normal stuff like from before this process started. So I'm ready for it to be concluded.
Jesse, what have you been up to?
Hey, everyone. Got some cool stuff to share for my update today. But first, I will give an update on the various influencers that we're talking to and I'm noticing. So I think I mentioned last time that we are developing a relationship with 3 influencers in Uganda, one in the Spanish Hive and one in the Turkish Hive. So yesterday was a really interesting day for influencers. Now, these influencers I'm about to show are like technical analysis trading influencers, and they come and go for EOS. I noticed 3 new ones yesterday. Something happened yesterday. So here's the first one. This Professor Atrones.
Oh, yeah.
180,000 followers. I'm going to give an update on swarms. We swarmed this one, paid swarm. Here's one, 48,000. Here is, okay, bombshell, I like EOS, 148,000. So these are big trading influencers that have recently found EOS. The comments, the EOS community, and not just the bees, but the EOS community did a really good job of neutralizing some of the negativity in these comments, promoting good stuff around EOS. So like really good job for the community in with these posts. So I was really happy to see that. This guy here, we're swarming using the tip.cc bot from Discord. We had 55 bees participate and we paid a total of 20 EOS. So about 0.36 EOS per like and retweet. I agree what Dan had said some call ago that you want to overpay in the beginning. And so I really want to incentivize this behavior. I'm trying to pay like pretty good for a very simple like and retweet. So that's what's going on there. And for the last piece of my update, I have 2 pieces of content. So this week, the Korean Hive really had a great week coming out with content around Fractally. We're getting ready for the white paper.
Is this something that is going to be run by the Fractally team, or is it just like...
Not necessarily. They don't even know about it until now.
They've already got fan creators just creating with their logo different things. They might... I don't know what they'll make of it, but I like it. I think it's kind of cute. I don't even mind the robot voice.
What'd you say?
I said I don't even mind the robot voice, but I can see the appeal of an actual.
Anyways, so message me in the comments or whatever. What do you think about the voice? I want to know from the community. And that's and the very last part of my update, as I stop sharing my screen, is that I defeated Eve in the EOS quiz took them down. Super proud about that. Maybe next week. Eve.
And those are happening Fridays, yeah? At like
Yeah.
in the
Friday's 20:00 UTC. Yana puts on an EOS quiz.
And if people want to participate, that's in the EOS community Discord, right?
Yes.
And where do you go in the Discord to get into the games?
In the voice chat, like where the fireside chat is.
So Jesse, I have a follow-up question for you about some of the work that you're doing with the EOS bees, if that's cool. Could you give us the actual order in terms of speakers and usership of EOS? Because it's surprising.
Well, I do think the top 3 is English, Chinese, and Korean. And I put that maybe in the first tier. And in the second tier, to me, it's clear that it's Spanish, Vietnamese, and Turkish. Below that, Russian, German, and French.
Could you give us a sense for the relative difference in tier 2? Like, how do the Spanish and Turkish communities compare in just total numbers? And there was one other group you mentioned, Vietnamese. Like, how do they stack up next to each other?
Yeah, it's tough to compare like the actual numbers. You can look at Telegram groups. You can look at Twitter followers. You can look at like the hashtag EOS and like the languages there. But it's just kind of a general feeling. It feels to me that it's like, for example, the Spanish, the Vietnamese, and the Turkish have like really decently active communities. And so I can't really give you like hard numbers.
Relative strength. That's all right. All right, cool. Maybe we can follow up the composition of EOS community overall, but maybe we should.
Yeah, for sure.
Round to Randall. What's going on, Randall?
Pretty good. So your support, we've been building a notification to reach out to exchanges and customers that are using the EOS.io software because we are trying to position ourselves so that in a couple of months we will upgrade to Mandel. Hopefully we can do it nice and flawlessly without any issues, but that's what we are working on. Number 2 is Twitter account. It's called EOS Network DAO.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah, EOS Network DAO. So the narrative is going to be to paint EOS to be mostly focused on creating DAOs, like a network that's mostly focused on creating DAOs. The ENF has shown support for that. So we've started off with the Twitter account. Hopefully we can get more people to start going there. With that, we will start to position people to come through support. And I think the beats, I think I spoke to Jesse briefly. The goal is to try and position people so that when they have questions or when they want to learn how to do something, they know where to go instead of ending up on Telegram or like some crazy place and get confused. There was another problem that we were having, but I think Dario reached out to Aaron. I was a little frustrated because there was a customer that we were trying to onboard and it took 2 hours. That's how crazy the onboarding is for EOS. 2 freaking hours on Zoom. All in all, we're just trying to find a way to make it a little bit shorter. Because some of these things I don't have answers to. I'm just passing on the information because it's difficult. There's no magic wand that can fix all of this. It's just going to take time. But at least we are working on some of these things. We are building a platform. We are doing that aggressively. It's very tiring. It's very challenging, actually. We are working on the front end on how we can position your support in a way that people can just create like regular contests for like 25 EOS or 50 EOS. Community will vote on it using the EDM filter. And EOS support is going to have a filter using port. We have already installed it, tested it. It was good. So we use that to reward people. People can just reward regular content creators just to make it fun, just to have something for people to just be happy about. We started the back end for the roadmap. Actually, this one I actually saw it from Aaron, and because I know people wanted like a roadmap, so I saw that Aaron was discussing with someone about a roadmap like IOTA's roadmap. So basically, stole that idea. I was like, all right, cool. Why not? Let's have something like that. So we have the back end completed. We have to finish the design. and come up with the front end so that we can have a place where we can update what's going on in the community, right? If we are going to have an update coming up, like Fractally white paper is coming up on the 22nd, whatever, we will have that so people can have a place to look at to see what's going on EOS, and we can update it real time, because now EOS is a network full of DAOs being ran by the community itself. So at least it will allow people to see what's going on and to have an input on the direction of where we are going.
Randall, where do you see most of the traffic arriving to EOS support from, would you say?
Most of the traffic is coming from Telegram and Discord. Like we have, we have squads and we have agents in these groups. So when someone is having like problems, we forward them through there. Yeah, that's where we get most of the traffic. Unfortunately, we are not getting anything from the EOS community website. I don't even think people go on that because remember, we have for the widget, so we are able to trace where the most traffic is, right?
Yeah.
People don't go onto EOS community .org. People don't go to Eden on EOS as much as we think, right? I've had like 2 tickets come from Eden on EOS.
Yeah.
Right. So it seemed like the websites that we have, it doesn't have SEO. So pretty much it's a wasted effort. It's just there. No one goes to it as much. But Telegram and Discord seem to be where everyone is going. But I think it has to do with the fact that when you go on CoinMarketCap, the people are being directed to the EOS project. Majority of the new users are going to Telegram. So I think with time, we probably have to start doing some SEOs, and especially if the ENF has his website up, and also the Bees are going to help us as well, because once we have the referral system, we can help people, whether it's going to be a chat or like calling them, FaceTiming, whatever that we can do to make it work.
Quick note on SEO. Best way to jumpstart an SEO ranking is to run Google ads for that domain. Google takes that into account. You pay Google, they're going to like you.
For myself, just absorbed in the 10,000 foot view of ENF world mostly, and trying to get a grip on, there's so many moving parts between all the working groups and just all the conversations that are going on in the community, and producing some video, and it's extensive. I could just do this and only this and sleep and which I think everyone here is kind of like full in. So Aaron's like, fuck yeah. Sleep, what's that? Yeah, we didn't have any like real particular agenda items. I guess there was a few things we wanted to touch on. Maybe
we're gonna jump more into
talk about that.
the Chris's DAO that he's working on, right?
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a DAO formed of a community. But one of the things that I think is relevant to Eden is and I've mentioned this a few times, but this DAO will be formed of a 64-person max community, because we are experienced with elections. 64 is a really sweet number where you can have rooms of 4 divided 16 times. And then you have ideally 16 people come forward, 4 groups of 4, you end up with a final 4-person, in this case, it's like a committee or a board of directors of sorts. So it'll be a community using that political playoff fractal democracy process annually right now. So there'll be a starting committee, so starting deliberately centralized, so we can get this thing rolling. And the committee is going to be charged with the task of, so this is all about block producers and the idea of moving away from vote, trade, buy, sell, exchange, any of that type of stuff. You can't actually stop it. This is what we all kind of realize. Anybody can make a backdoor deal, and there's nothing that can be stopped about that. But what the committee's job will be to at least ensure that the reward that a block producer gets, VPay and BPay in EOS, would go towards something that's beneficial for the ecosystem and the community. So I've introduced a lot of subjective things here, and that's why this is hard, but that's why there's a committee involved. So this is meant to have, this committee is meant to be people who have integrity, hopefully, who are trusted, hopefully, and they will have conversations with the BPs one-on-one, where the BPs will disclose aspects of their financial operations, and to basically kind of demonstrate to this committee that they are using their reward to go for salary, infrastructure, projects, developments, whatever it might be. And there's lots, again, ambiguity here to the max, because how do you prove that? And this will be hard. Like, you could just get lied to and the numbers could be falsified. And there's going to be a lot here that will make this difficult. But however, I think myself and many believe that this is a worthwhile endeavor to bring this type of BP selection and encourage a better use, again, subjective, but a better use of their funds, which is basically inflation, to go towards promoting and enhancing and growing the ecosystem. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot to that. And I think this will definitely stir up a lot of discussion, and some people aren't going to agree with this at all. And some people are going to think this is great. And, there's nothing we can do about that other than at least be willing to talk about it and not get mad at each other. Like, this isn't meant to be a FUD thing. It's meant to be, can we do better, quote unquote, to those who believe this is better for the ecosystem. And there will be a bit of, like, the idea is for BPs that want to sign on to this, if they're currently buying votes, because that's the only way in EOS that you really can get ahead to a paid position. That's just the reality of it, for right or wrong. It's just the way it is. So there will be this kind of awkwardness. Well, I don't know, awkwardness is the right word, but it'll be a difficult thing to do, because at first this proxy won't have a lot of stake behind it. So if a BP was to be like, yep, okay, we're going to do that, we're no longer going to do any sort of vote buying, you're not going to replace those votes yet. The idea is that there is a large exchange, and they are going to be allowing their customers to opt in to put that stake towards this proxy. And if that's successful, this will be like an order of magnitude the biggest proxy on the network, and it could single-handedly pick the top 21 almost. So this could have a ton of weight behind it that will be enough of an incentive to have BPs who are kind of stuck in this limbo zone of, they still they kind of have to pay for votes to then do this. But what we've allowed is a 3-month grace period. So part of this is say, hey, sign a pledge that you'll do this and you'll agree to these kind of terms, but you've got 3 months to wean yourself off of what you're currently needing to do. And hopefully in that 3 months, we get enough stake behind the proxy that then makes that a smooth transition. So no one has to actually sacrifice part of their income to keep their business running. And then if it turns out after 3 months, we don't get the stake, well, you know what? I no hard feelings. Then you don't have to commit. You can just kind of, no, sorry, we can't do it. Got to continue with the vote the way we're acquiring votes now to keep ourselves in a paid spot. And that could be that. So hopefully that'll entice a few BPs who are kind of stuck in this tricky situation.
Doing this is like how the system works. Any proxy can align itself with any objective and try to use that voting weight to do what it is that they would like to see on the network. It's a way to represent the token holders' voices. When EOS started, this was kind of the original way I wanted it to operate. It's public goods. It's not public goods. It's public funding that comes from block producer rewards. It comes from inflation. So if there is excess, then we've always believed that should go to public goods, that should go back into the network somehow, or at least help the people who are running the network survive. Like, we wouldn't survive with just EOS at this point, even with vote buying. I mean, I think last month we got 5,000 EOS. Like, that was our take home. That's what Greymass got from EOS. Like, is that enough to run a block producer that also builds a wallet and builds all this other stuff? No. But on the flip side, it's like, would a top 21 position even be enough at that point? And I don't know the answer to that question. So we're just in this crazy landscape where everything's changing at this point. And there's no harm in doing any of this. And like, I'd support these efforts. Like, let's try everything. Throws everything at the wall and let's see what sticks. If this sticks, awesome. Like, super excited for it to stick. If it doesn't, we've seen some crazy things. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I said there's just so much. Like, you could take that and run 10 different directions about things that have happened and ways this could go. And it's just, man, it's a complex ecosystem here. And I'm glad to see we're experimenting on ways to make it better, like you said, quote unquote. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all subjective, So what I want the network to be is different than what other people want the network to be. And
I feel like we're moving towards greater coherence, essentially, like across the entire network. And the coherence can be, people that advocate for solution A and people that advocate for solution B, because ostensibly everyone wants the best, the best for the network. It's a means and ends conundrum, really. But at the end of the day, we all want the EOS network to flourish. So
yeah. And I think for me as a developer, like I look at things and immediately like my mode of operation is, okay, what's wrong with this? But at this point in time, like I'm trying my hardest not to give that, because we need to try everything, like there may be problems. And if I can present something where I'm like, oh, this could be improved in this way, then I'll suggest that. But if I see a problem and don't have a solution, then I will try not to discourage efforts. And that's not only for this proxy initiative or this DAO, it's for everything. So that's even like on the polar opposite end of this is like the legal stuff that's going on. It's like, okay, try it. As long as we don't get too far down some crazy rabbit hole. We all need to try a whole bunch of things at this point, because this is a rebirth moment for the network, and we don't know what's going to work. So let's do it all.
You wrote something in the EOS Telegram main chat 4 or 5 days ago now that I thought was really awesome and on point, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but you were essentially saying that now is kind of a time to listen to each other and to take a step back, and that everyone's maybe kind of rushing in to try to fill the void that Block One left behind. But perhaps now is a good time for everyone to kind of like, we just kind of have to have like spatial awareness of all the people that are rushing in. And
yeah,
I don't know if you want to elaborate on.
We don't need one singular leader. We just got done with one singular leader that just effectively ignored us for years. It's a chance for all of us to come together and lead this together. We all take a little bit of a step back somewhere in that gray zone in between yes and no, and we try to look at and support what everybody else is doing. Then I think we're going to come out on top. Like we have a lot, well, we don't have a lot, but we have some talent remaining. We need to explore those ideas that have been percolating over the past, how many ever years it's been since we've thought one thing that should happen that hasn't happened. Now's a good time to try it.
Where do you think we're not looking in terms of where do we need a presence that we don't have a presence? Part of this is, I want to ask Aaron, this ties into the onboarding friction that we have with wallets and stuff. And so this is a bundle of questions, but it's partly like, where can we be reaching into now to bring in fresh blood from outside of the EOS bubble? And what can we reasonably expect to bring in terms of our onboarding now and our onboarding 6 months from now?
Each person that comes on board, if they like the experience and they participate in a community like this, which is working to provide a value to communities through Eden and through some of these dApps that they will get themselves involved in, and also through jobs, because some people now have a job, real-time job. Okay, before they didn't have a job. Now people have real-time job because they are part of the EOS community, and the EOS community gives them a job, is giving them experience. Some people are learning leadership skills, how to be part of a professional society or group or community or company. And then we will continue to grow one day at a time.
Yeah, well said, Randall. It's really all about influencers. This is my primary focus. So in the beginning, we have to pay crypto influencers. And eventually we're going to become influencers ourselves. The main accounts of the hives, the individual bees, some of the individual bees in the hives will become influencers. The analogy, I've been thinking for a while of the best analogy, and I don't like war, but we are in a crypto media war. There's no doubt about it. And we basically did not train any troops. We just didn't have anyone, and we're just getting crushed like throughout the years. And so now I'm putting together an army. We're basically like a Game of Thrones. We're like training the Rangers. We're on the wall right now. And so over time, as this is going to be in tandem, as there's more interesting dApps that come on, we're going to have a better and more attractive promotion offering. What Randall said about jobs, to me, it's more about these micro tasks that you can earn from. It's not a job. You're just earning from doing something very, very, very simple that takes a really short amount of time. I think that's going to be really attractive to people, and it's going to onboard them onto EOS. So it's just like, you want to earn some money for sitting on the toilet, or like reading a page of a book, or doing something really simple that you just already do throughout the day. Those are the kind of dApps that are going to come on. Like Pommel is a great one, a great example. You just want to walk around a little bit, you earn some crypto. And so these are the things. But yeah, so starting with crypto influencers and then becoming our own influencers. Hopefully by Pomelo season 3, I have an idea that I've been working on. I am planning to become an influencer myself. And I'm building a new brand. It's completely outside of crypto, but it's going to be X sponsored by EOS. So like I told my bees the other day, like, start a podcast, talk about anything. You like fishing? Talk about fishing, sponsored by EOS. And then, a little ad about EOS. And so not ready to talk about that now, but yeah, that's our strategy.
I think it goes back to kind of one of the things Randall said about the onboarding experience. I mean, he's mentioned it like 2 or 3 times on this call now. It's rough. Like the troops you're talking about, we're giving them tents with holes in it and with no floors, and we're not giving them a sleeping bag, and it's missing one of the posts. Like that's how people are being recruited right now, because there's not enough attention going into tent manufacturing. So we really, like, over the course of the next, I don't know, year or two, we really need to up our tent making game and make it so that soldiers, when they get here, are well taken care of, and they don't have to worry about all these other things. Wallets specifically kind of are one of those basic necessities that you need when you're participating in this. Once somebody new has a purpose or a reason, like some meaningful reason to use this blockchain ecosystem, they just need to be well equipped. And if you look at other ecosystems right now, they have the groups that are building these basic things are funded with hundreds of millions of dollars. They have teams of like 20 to 50. They are providing this basic layer that allows people who have that meaning to come in and actually participate meaningfully without driving them away, without having them desert the army, to continue this analogy. We have a lot of deserters right now, people that, and not in the negative way, like abandonment or whatever, but they're just like, I can't tolerate these conditions, I'm gonna go elsewhere. So it's really twofold. It's a lot of people don't have a reason to join. Like you may hype it up, but then they're like, well, I don't have anything to do, so I'm not going to do it. They lack the purpose. But then when somebody does find the purpose, they lack the means. So it's going to be a long journey, really, to both build the purpose and the means. And we need to focus on both of them. And really, the purpose might be dependent on the needs. Like we may need some of those fundamental things to exist before we can really recruit people. So for me, to kind of go to your stages or whatever, I imagine there's probably going to be about a year of really heavy introspective looking at like the tooling in the ecosystem and how do we make this better? How do we solve these problems? How do we make it so that they're not frustrated and wanting to leave? And during that time, how do we give them a purpose, like a meaning to be here? So they're both going to have to happen in tandem, but Like we really need to look at tooling. I know I ramble about that a lot. I don't know, in this analogy, I don't know what the developers are. We have this army and we have what, the blacksmiths or
You're
something?
the smithies for sure.
Yeah, or the smithies. We don't have enough blacksmiths. So we really need to foster that. And hopefully through the efforts that are coming out of the blue papers and other initiatives, I don't want to just limit it to that, but it will create opportunities for developers to come in, whether that be because they're getting paid or because they're passionate or because they have an idea, to build those things that'll help bolster this ecosystem. So it's not going to be one group doing this. The papers hopefully will have a lot of people doing some of those things out of those. But realistically, like we might see some stuff depending on when we start, the projects that are within the papers. Maybe we'll see some of that stuff by like summer or fall, some initial stuff, some initial improvements. And then it's just going to be this, these stages of progression that we'll have to just continue to follow through and learn and adapt and keep evolving. So
John, you just stepped into the analogy framework scaffolding that we're using here is Game of Thrones. And you're a blacksmith and or architect or something or other in this realm. What was your take?
Oh, I was just going to say the worst thing a crypto project can do is go to production, is release, because, you know, you can ride the hype train so high and make all these promises and, you know, create all this bullshit. You know, bullshit baffles brains. So, you know, when you go production, that's when you actually gotta, you know, live up to your promises. And unless you cure cancer, chances are, you know, it's not going to go well. Another thing that happened was, again, you know, EOS was successful because, again, simply just by hearing that, you know, EOS raised $4 billion, you know, dollars. People thought, well, fuck, you know, a chain of $4 billion behind it, that's got to do well. Like, you know, I'll get behind that. And then when it was you know, discovered that, you know, this $4 billion wouldn't really go into the chain, then again, it was kind of like an empty shell. And then, you know, no leadership. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard, but again, you know, I don't think it's right to compare a chain that hasn't actually gone to production, you know, and started producing blocks and you know, started doing what the hell it's, you know, said it was going to do. You know, between ones that are actually doing it, and new ones that can keep just dishing out, you know, bullshit and make new announcements and all that crap. Because again, it'll crypto is just speculation. Like, look at NFTs, speculating. Tokens are the same shit. So it's kind of like blockchains that haven't released are tokens that you want to, you know, that are pure speculation, because anyone can, you know, make up promises and shit like that. And then you know, blockchains that are actually in production, actually, you know, doing things are more kind of real. And then, you know, when reality sets in, the price kind of, you know, goes down with it.
Yeah. It's like Schrodinger's cat situation. Like, as long as you don't open the box, you don't know whether the cat's alive or dead. And you can just be like, believe whatever you want, you know, like you can tell the cat turned into a tiger. It's fucking living in fairy tale land in there. You have no idea.
Doesn't it feel like we have a new box kind of? So you mentioned a rebirth. Like it feels like we're kind of new again a little bit.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter a thing what we feel. It matters what the market feels, and, you know, the people on the outside feel, and they're not feeling any of that shit.
We tell the story. That's how we make them feel. We tell the story.
They're laughing at us.
To go back to our Game of Thrones analogy, we're gonna probably need most of our blacksmiths to stop forging things and train new blacksmiths. Like, that's gonna take a lot of time. Like, I have like a new guy that started on Monday, and I've spent a lot of time just like throwing him in the deep end and was like, here's what you got to learn. And that eats up my time as well, which, you know, would normally be development or figuring something out, but it's like now it is, I'm training a new person, and we only have so much talent within the ecosystem. We're to reach the scale that I think we all want to reach, we need to train new people. We're going to need to take the people we have and pause what they're doing to train new people. And that's going to cause this to all take more time. So, I mean, I'm sure you have the same thing, Randall, as you're onboarding new support agents.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
And Aaron is actually, and Aaron, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're actually talking about how a company expands. For a company to expand, the company actually has to go back, change its rules, its bylaws, its treasury. It's a lot of work, right? So right now what we are doing is we are engineering ourselves so that we can train new people, budget for new people, and prepare ourselves to make that big leap. So that leap is going to take time because, I mean, if you have to onboard 3, 4, 5 people, new people, it's a lot of work.
It's also finding the people as well, because if they're getting in the blockchain game, they got a lot of options to pick from, like, you know, what's going to incentivize them to pick EOS in particular, because career-wise, it's a lot safer for them to learn Ethereum, and they'll chances are they'll get paid more, and they'll be more in demand, and it'll be more secure job-wise if they just learn Ethereum. So
That's
but we need a better story, because that's the only thing that changes.
Right.
That.
Well,
it's all about the story.
And I was going to bring up the whole pay thing. Like, you bring up an excellent point in that they could go to a more popular ecosystem like Ethereum, and they probably have better job prospects if their current job doesn't work out. Like, that knowledge is more widely usable. So, and they'll make more money in that other ecosystem. So we're going to have to make some sort of compromises, and like, we're going to have to like overpay people. We're going to have to train people. We're going to have there has to be an incentive to pull it here, because right now all the incentives are, hey, go somewhere else, go to this other ecosystem. You'll have better future prospects, better training, more money, more equity. Your company will be more successful. Like, those are all true if you did not come to the EOS.io ecosystem. So it's super hard to find people, and you've got to lure them here somehow.
We just have to pay. We just have to pay people. I think
that's,
I think that's what Stan is banking on. The fact that now we are willing, and we have the process in place to pay people, right? So that will really, really make a big difference for developers.
John. Which place are you? How are we paying people? Like through Eden or?
Yeah, Pomelo, Eden, Fractally.
Yeah.
And external capital when we can get it. I think there's inroads being made there by various teams. So that's the saving grace if we can get off the. EOS doesn't have much inflation. Let's be honest. There's, in terms of compared to other blockchain products, we have very low inflation.
Well, how much is on the next Pomelo? Like 888 grand?
Yeah.
Like, in the scheme of things, that's not like a whole lot. Like, a year, well, how much is a year's salary for a blockchain developer? Like a good one that knows what he's doing.
No, but we have a ENF, right?
Like,
funding. The ENF is going to be funding the blue papers too.
Funding the blue papers.
Yeah, so the blue papers, there are going to be budgets for that.
But you don't look at the Pomelo, John. You look at the 2% inflation. That total number is going to go to pay people.
Well, it's up to the ENF to make sure they put that in the right direction, and hopefully it's enough as well. But
they will.
Definitely uphill battle.
Quick last point on training. You guys kind of made me realize one of the strengths of the bees, it's very little training. We are taking people that they're already good at. if they're content creators, if they're writers, or even if they're not good at anything and just can like and retweet a tweet. And so I totally can empathize and sympathize with the time it takes to train for Randall, what you're doing, and Aaron, what you're doing, because these are highly skilled positions. And we have a lot of low skilled positions on the bees. And so we can really scale.
John, I'm gonna bring you back on this. Are we going to build a website for Eden?
It depends how much of a pain in the ass it is to build a website. Like I can build one.
No, we are going to task you to create the Eden website because no one came up to do this work, right? So I think it's just as important for us to get that done. You know, we need a very nice website so that we can really showcase it to communities.
Well, Randall, I think that once we all read the Fractally white paper, we're gonna have a conversation with Dan, and then we're gonna have a good idea of the future of Eden a lot better after that. So I think it's kind of hard to make a decision on whether to make a website right now for Eden.
4 more days.
Okay, fine. 4 more days. Yeah.
Then at least we'll have all the information we need. Right now we're like poker players, like trying to decide whether to bet on which hand to bet on. You know, it's like
definitely Fractally.
What, you're betting on Fractally?
Yeah, you better bet on Fractally. You work for Fractally.
No, but John, you're saying that you think that Eden will disintegrate into Fractally.
I hope so. Yeah, I feel like a lot more can be done with Fractally than Eden.
Yeah,
and again, it's way more friendlier to the community. Like,
yeah, if it's an upgrade and it's
in Eden, if you're not elected, you know, then too bad. You're not really relevant for the next 3 months, or you know, till the next election cycle. Whereas, you know, Fractally is a lot more dynamic. Like everyone can jump on board. There's no, you know, you don't need to wait for anything.
What's your level of confidence in that Fractally is going to solve some of the things that we're talking about right now in terms of onboarding, in terms of, you know, just renewed excitement within the EOS community and all this stuff that we need to?
I think it'd be great, providing the funding is there. Like Aaron says, you need to like overpay, but yeah, if we have a good amount of funding, I think it would be a great way of attracting new developers, especially for a brand new way of getting paid as well. I think a lot of people will like that dynamic, and it's really fair as well. So yeah, and it allows, you know, people want to get paid obviously, but they also want skin in the game. Like they want shares as well, right? Like, you know, you don't want to bust your ass for 20 years at a job and not have like any equity in the company or whatever. So Fractally will be able to, you know, like not provide equity, like legal equity, but you know what I mean? Like it'll let you put skin in the game and be able to reflect that as well.
Cool. I'm excited. It's you know, we've got multiple communities now trying to stand up Eden 1.0 in other languages, so it's the additional details can't really come soon enough, because I think it affects a lot of people, and it certainly affects us. So yeah, and I know Dan made some comments recently about that seemed to suggest that the chief delegates were going to be like really important and relevant and just needed more funding and all this stuff, and Twitter, and that threw me back for a loop. I just never know when I wake up in the morning what's going to be coming down the pipeline on that front. But I don't know. I'm just waiting 4 more days, and then we'll have a much better picture. This was going to be a short call, John. Theoretically, we should have been gone by the time you got here, but
I thought you would be. Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm probably done by now. I missed it, but
Well, we should probably wrap it up. It's been 2 hours, or I guess technically we started pretty late. So
Adios, guys.
adios and go EOS.
Go EOS.
Go EOS.